this particular course really focused on the religion and culture of Ecuador, specifically in comparison to the United States. My goal for doing the course, I believe first and foremost it's an immersion course. And so they're going to Ecuador, they're staying with host families, and they're immersing themselves in the culture. And of course, they're spending 3 and 4 hours a day in the classroom, so they're learning from me and from Dr. Seesengood in this case, a lot about the culture and the religion of Ecuador. So sort of in combination with that immersion experience, and so the immersion gives them the language, and it gives them some sort of cultural sense through interacting with people on a daily basis, through living with host families. And then they come back to the classroom and they get to learn a little bit more academically about those things so they can put everything in context.
The course actually had a couple of different conversations going on in it, since it's taught interdisciplinary with Brian and I. Brian's in sociology, I'm in religious studies, and then we also had students that were doing it for Spanish credit. But I would say if there's a narrative that holds it all together, it would have been mapping out how transitions in religious experience in Ecuador as a culture were caused by and also caused certain types of changes within the larger culture of Ecuador itself. So we looked at Quechua, pre-Incan traditions, Incan invaders, Catholic, colonial period, independence, and sort of contemporary, and saw how religion was intersecting a lot of those different moments.
I feel more open to new experiences, new religion, new culture, new classes. I actually took a religion class this semester, and I'm totally engrossing myself in it just because I feel so much more interested in other people's religions. What surprised me the most was being able to communicate with somebody in a different language. It really was just amazing to go to a different country and be with somebody in a different household and live with them and not know the same language as them, but be able to still communicate with them and know like what they wanted from me or what I wanted for dinner. It was really crazy to be able to communicate with somebody, I mean, via sign language or a hand gesture or something. It was really an amazing experience.
What surprised me about this experience was how rich the culture was, because when you think of Ecuador, you think of a third world country. You wouldn't really think they would really have a lot, to offer you. But going into the country and then the classroom and learning so much about the religion and so much about the traditions really surprised me a lot, because they really had a lot to teach and a lot to offer us.
In terms of the course itself, the students spend 2.5 weeks in Cuenca with the host family. We do many side excursions to other rural locations, so they get the rural and urban life. Part of the course, though, is a service project. And this year, the particular service project was with the Instituto Piloto, which is an institute that serves a population that is really in desperate need of educational facilities. This particular institute was an institute for children who have mental and physical disabilities. The institute really is, by American standards, is underfunded. It receives very little money. The teachers are paid and their salaries are paid, but any additional money that comes in is somewhere in the proximity of $30 a month. A very limited amount of money for them to provide supplies and really do an adequate job of teaching. So the fact that I was able to tell the students before we go, bring school supplies to donate, which they all did. It was a wonderful spread of school supplies that they wrote to donate, as well as the oven that was donated. I think it really did have an impact on them. Now, what we do every year is generally a different service project for a different institute. If we ever go back and serve this institute again, great, I would be happy with that. But the fact that we can go back on a yearly basis and help somebody else in need, because quite frankly, there are a lot in need, just like anywhere else in the world. And so the more that we can do to give back to the city of Cuenca and to the country of Ecuador, I think is a very important aspect of the course.
What I expected students to take away from the experience was information directly about how religion intersects other parts of culture that they might not have thought of. What students, I think, took away from it, I wasn't quite as prepared for. They seem to be a sense of embracing a larger idea of looking at a whole dynamic of cultural encounter, and using religion as a device or a lens to kind of think their way through not only what it was like to be Ecuadorian, but what it was like to be American back home, and a whole range of issues intersecting their identity, the identity of the people that they met, and the experiences that they had. I felt like the students took away a lot more than I was expecting to have brought. One of the expressions that hit me was, I was talking about it when we were in the country with Dr. Jennings. Ecuador is a country that's simultaneously gorgeous and ghastly. There's such a level of poverty in some places that to have had an opportunity to even touch a small portion of a group that's very a neglected community that's being ignored, and be able to offer what we could in terms of providing resources for them, also in ways that were very deeply satisfying to me, in ways that trained and educated another human being to be independent. I was thinking about that the whole time, about how in some ways we brought students to a foreign context to train them in certain, not just information, but life skills that make them independent human beings, so that they could navigate cities wherever they were in the world, so they could figure out buses and trains all over the world, so that they can basically realize that they alone could travel anywhere on the planet they wanted. We gave a group of college students a sense of independence they didn't have. And at the same time, we finished the project with a service activity that was designed to do something to the country that we had taken something from. And in a beautiful level of symmetry, what we did was actually help school training other people to learn to be independent, to have a skill and a trade that would let them be able to live alone with dignity.
Well, obviously, I mean, we could have taught this course here about the culture and religion of Ecuador. Could have easily have done that on campus. It would not have been anywhere near the same. The fact that we are going there and the fact that they're immersing in that particular culture, and learning about the religion is, I think we can do more in 3 weeks in that interim time frame course than what you could ever do in a single semester here at Albright.
Ultimately, from this course, I learned that it's a big world, and there's a lot of people, and we're all the same in many ways, but we're also different, and we should celebrate those differences and not, discourage them.